Hello and welcome to TradeFlow Television,
bringing you valuable analysis and actionable intelligence
through the global commodity markets.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets. The Trump administration announced an import ban on all cotton and tomato products from western China's Xinjiang region on Wednesday over allegations that they are made with forced labor from detained Uyghur Muslims. U.S. Customs and Border Protection said the order applies to raw fibers, apparel and textiles made from Xinjiang-grown cotton, as well as canned tomatoes, sauces, seeds and other tomato products from the region, even if processed or manufactured in third countries. The agency, which is part of the Department of Homeland Security, estimates that about $9 billion of cotton products and $10 million worth of tomato products were imported from China into the United States in the past year.
Asia's chicken farmers are confronting the region's worst bird flu outbreak in years, with the deadly virus affecting farms stretching from Japan to India, roiling some poultry prices and showing no signs of easing. More than 20 million chickens have been destroyed in South Korea and Japan since November. The highly pathogenic H5N8 virus last week reached India, the world's number 6 producer, and has already been reported in 10 states. While bird flu is common in Asia at this time of year due to migratory bird patterns, new strains of the virus have evolved to become more lethal in wild birds, making countries on flight pathways particularly vulnerable, say experts.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
China's total crude oil imports surged 7.3% in 2020 despite the coronavirus shock earlier in the year, with record arrivals in the second and third quarters as refineries expanded operations and low prices encouraged stockpiling, data showed on Thursday. For 2020, the world's top oil buyer brought in a record 542.4 tons of crude oil, or 10.85 million barrels per day. The strong flows followed feverish buying from refineries as well as independent storage operators after crude prices plummeted to the lowest in decades earlier in the year, taking advantage of robust domestic demand as the economy quickly recovered from the coronavirus pandemic.
Trading volumes in Asia for fuel oil, a key shipping fuel, nearly halved in 2020 to the lowest levels in at least 5 years as stricter emission rules for marine fuel altered trade patterns and as the COVID-19 pandemic hurt demand. The drop in trade volumes during S&P Global Platts price assessment process and on the Intercontinental Exchange, ICE, followed a major fuel specification change in the shipping industry last year as the International Maritime Organization, IMO, reduced the sulfur content for marine fuels to 0.5% from 3.5% starting from 2020. Moving on to metal price moves. China imported record volumes of unwrought copper and copper products on an annual basis in 2020. While its annual exports of aluminium fell to the lowest since 2017. Imports of unwrought copper and copper products for the year came in at 6.68 million tons, customs data showed on Thursday, up a third from 2019 and extending the annual record notched well before the end of the year, on the back of a quick recovery from the coronavirus epidemic. December imports, however, slumped for a third consecutive month to 512,332 tons, as construction and manufacturing demand was not enough to offset the closure of an arbitrage window that made 2020 a record year for shipments into China, the world's top consumer of the metal.
Exchange-traded funds ETFs storing gold for investors shrank for a second month in December, but nevertheless grew more than ever before in 2020 thanks to massive stockpiling earlier in the coronavirus outbreak, the World Gold Council said on Wednesday. Gold is traditionally used as a safe store of wealth, and investors rushed to hoard it as the pandemic swept through the global economy. It also benefits from low interest rates, because these drive down returns on bonds, a competing asset class, and the virus forced central banks to slash rates and commit to keeping them low. We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector. China imported 9.91 million tons of meat in 2020, customs data showed on Thursday, as the world's biggest consumer of meat stocked up on proteins after a further plunge in its pork output. Shipments were up 60.4% on the year before and came after China's output of pork, its staple meat, slumped 19% in the first half. That followed an even bigger drop during 2019 when the fatal pig disease African swine fever ravaged its vast hog herd. China's General Administration of Customs only began releasing monthly data for all meats combined last year, but the 2020 total is believed by industry analysts to be a record.
That is all for today's news on the commodity market. Stay tuned to TradeFlow TV as we continue to provide you with more updates. You can also follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow TV1, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop.